Okay, and welcome to a very special video. If you couldn't tell, I am very excited for this video. I even dressed up as Mr. John Kagurabachi himself because I'm very excited for this. I've been working on this, I want to say a year at this point, keeping it secret. Haven't told a lot of people about it, but welcome to the Kagurabachi system video. And this is the Kagurabachi system, Bearers of the Past. Uh, yeah, no, I've been working on this for a really long time. I love Kagurabachi, love everything about it, and people have been asking about it, been knocking on my door, banging it down, saying we need the Kagurabachi system, and well, here it is. Here's the Kagurabachi system. So, I think we should just jump right into it. Just get right into it. The Kagurabachi system. Oh, why is it not? Hang on. There we go. Oh yeah, the system was made by me and HH. HH did a lot of the grammar, but I was one who did most of the mechanics and all that. But he came in and helped the grammar like usual, kind of like with the Tokyo Ghoul system. Which I will say the system has some shades of the Tokyo Ghoul system, but it's more similar to the Blue Lock system, if anything. Which, I say that right here. This system was made by Houseman, me, and HH, and was slightly inspired by the Blue Lock system, which is also made by me, Houseman. The system is slightly complex, and I recommend you only check it out after you have a couple other systems this tight under your belt. It is kind of, like not Pathfinder in the way it plays. How, like, you can't just jump. Pathfinder is not like a starter campaign. It's not a starter system. This is the same thing. It's not a starter system. You can still give it a shot, even if this is your first system, because I know people, Kagurabachi, it's Kagurabachi. Everyone wants to, go in that world and use the enchanted blades and all that. So, if you want to give it a shot, I just wouldn't recommend it. I would have someone with more experience because, it's very complex and it can be a bit of a struggle at times. I'm not going to say this is a perfect system. The system does have its, flaws and all that. And, it's kind of hard to transfer over the Kagurabachi system because the Kagurabachi system, power system, is like not fully expanded upon, and also like enchanted blades is thing. Everyone's gonna want like enchanted weapons, and it's like, well, enchanted blades are kind of like the super special thing. So how do you make the super special thing common? Uh, you do what I did, which is that it gets a little complex. Also, we've been in silence for a little bit, so let me fix that real quick. But yeah, you can play the system if you want, even if you are, inexperienced. I'd recommend giving this system a try. But, you don't fully have to give it a try if you don't want to. It's just something I recommend. However, teamwork still plays a major part in this system. There's a lot of solo play in this, but teamwork still very important. So make sure to choose your players wisely, as they are going to be your saving grace in some instances when it comes to, the system and everything as a whole. So it's just really important that you, pay attention to that. I don't know why that's getting so loud. I was just raising volume for some reason, but we don't gotta worry about that. It's fixed now. So, step one, material. Material-wise, you are going to need a lot of money, as you're going to need a lot of expensive material. A lot of expensive. Copper, it ain't cheap. Like steel, not cheap. Very expensive. First off, you're going to need a forge and a decent setup. Like, look, you can have a backyard forge where not a lot happens. Very unsafe, not OSHA friendly, but you can do that all you want. I do recommend getting like a icy one. Like, save, it's like a gaming computer. You're going to want to save up and get a nice, good, like, garage forge, because you're going to be using this all day, every day, so you might as well go big, go home, so you don't got to replace it, and it doesn't break down and, mess up a bunch of your supplies. You really don't want that to happen. The price varies on forges, again, you know, depending on the quality of forge you want. If you want to get a more, you know, luxurious one, it's going to cost you more. If you want a more simpler one, probably not going to cost you as much. But yeah, on top of forge pricing, there's also the cost of metal. You know, you're going to need you're going to need like steel, copper, whatever you want, and depending on what material you get will determine the like weight, durability, and sharpness of the sword. You know, some materials just won't work, period. You can try all you want, it ain't gonna work, you know. Like, if you want to make a dirt sword, it's probably not gonna happen because you can't make dirt, you know. Some of the system does involve common sense and, like, you know, making it your own, doing your own path, which I see nothing going wrong with that. I don't see, like, choosing your own path and making your own choices and letting the DM balance things as anything of a bad option. Nothing bad will ever come of something like that. Just it will never happen. I see nothing wrong with it. But yeah, be careful when choosing your material and make sure not to get too good material, or else you're going to be pretty busted. Step 2 is heat treating. The blade is carefully and evenly heated and then cooked slowly. The point of normalizing is to remove the stress which may have built up within the body of the blade while it was being forged. During the forging process, the blade might be heated and cooled differently, creating stress. Some parts may be hammered more than others, some areas hammered enough to harden them. This is a very physical system, you know, you're going to need to really get in there. Timing is everything. If you mess up the timing even just a little bit, your blade's going to be all floppy, and no one wants a floppy blade whenever they're going into battle with their life on the line, you know? So you got to be real careful, and you got to be okay with heat. You might get a little burnt, and that's a-okay. That's just a part of it, you know? That comes with the, you know, scars from a forge is a man's honor and a woman's honor in anything in between. It is just an honor, so you better respect that, and, you know, it's just gonna happen with this system. If these stresses are left in the blade, they could affect finishing, and when it comes time to heat treat the blade, the hardening and tempering might not be as even enough. Enough stress could be added that the blade would be in weak spots, which could result in the blade failing entirely. Again, it's a balancing act, much like life and relationship. It's a balancing act. A sword is much like a partner where you gotta treat it, you know, you gotta a little nice, a little rough, a little, you know, me, you, me, you know, you gotta be careful with it or else it's gonna crack and break. Step 3, quenching and tempering. One of the last processes in fabricating a sword is quenching and tempering it. Quenching hardens the metal so it holds an edge longer, but this also makes it very brittle. To restore some ductility and durability, the sword is tempered. With swords, due to their length, and the challenge is greater as in a typical quenching because it is possible to bend or warp the blade if it is not intended to quench the smooth and evenly. I don't fully know what that means. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wrote this in a fugue state. I'm gonna have to go back and change that, which, you know, if you wanna check that out and check out this system, it's gonna be linked down below in the description. I probably should have said that before, but yeah, it's gonna be linked down below. You can also find the Discord where you can also find the system. You know, if you really want to, you can click on the Discord and then go there and find the system there if you're feeling really, you know, if you really want to come and support me that way on top of liking and subscribing. But, you know, you don't got to if you don't want to, you know, it's not going to affect me too much. There is just a link down in the description you can press for the system, which, you know, but that's, you don't got to do that if you don't want to. Step 4, finishing. Finishing encompasses polishing, decorating, and crafting and assembling the hilt, guard, and sheath. This is very important. 9 out of 10 times, people are only going to care about your guard and what is like around the guard and how cool your sword is. You're never going to actually use this sword because why would you do that? Are you psycho? Are you going to kill someone with one of these swords? Are you crazy? Why would you do that? What's wrong with you? You should feel ashamed for even thinking of that. So 90% of these swords are just going to be, you know, like decoration pieces you hold up on your mantle and you go, I made that baby. Ain't you proud of me, Mom? Look at that. I made it myself. Any other 10%, you are going to, use it on burglars and the sort whenever they eventually, like break into your home or something. You're gonna need to use this, but that's a last case scenario, okay? Anyway, the swordsmith would be most concerned with the state of the blade itself and possibly decorating the blade and preparing the guard in pommel. Other artisans would likely be involved in the work of finishing the hilt, sheath, in other furnishing, and in any fine decorations. That right there, that's where the teamwork comes in. That's where the heart and soul of this system comes in. The teamwork is necessary, okay? Teamwork is everything. Speaking of heart and soul of the system, nuclear fission is a very big thing in this system and is the thing that separates this from every other system. Every other like blade making system, this is the thing that really separates everything. The final step for forging a sword is very important as it separates the normal swords from the special ones. Sword that could be described as enchanted. Enchanted! The best way to make your sword stronger and give them an extra kick is to include raw uranium in your sword. During the material phase, you can add sprinkles of raw uranium into your blade, so when you cut people, it makes it extra spicy. Also, during the quenching phase, you can, dump it in some irradiated water. Maybe even, like, stoke your coals in your forge with some pure, raw, nuclear, just the most, like, the elephant foot. Just go get the elephant foot, throw that in your forge. There you go, baby. That's how you get a spicy sword that is going to do extra poison damage whenever you stab people with it. However, obviously, getting uranium and all that is a little difficult. So, you can't do that. And sometimes, certain situations don't require a sword and they require something a little different. As Oppenheimer once said, the bigger the boom, the more credit I get as a inventor. However, in some instances, you will need something stronger than a sword, something nuclear. The steps to making a nuke are quite simple. First, you can also get raw daitinseki and infusing the sword via and that's about it. It seems a lot simpler than you think it is. Truthfully, the hardest part is getting the material. Once you get the material, baby, you are good. It is pretty easy from that way forward. I don't know why more people don't do this. Probably something to do with the laws and all that, but look, sometimes you gotta break some laws and some eggs to make a good omelet. So sometimes you gotta break those laws. And that is sadly it for Bears of the Past. The system has ended. This is it. This is a beta version. I will probably add more to it. I'll add a couple more things, but I'm not gonna add too much stuff. They're not gonna reinvent sword making in the modern era. They'd never do something like that. So, I think the system's pretty good. I don't gotta worry about that for, at least another 1,000 years. And then you can come get me. Pause for, being inaccurate in the words I said here. Because everything I said here is truthful. And you should go do it right now. Also, before we leave, here's some cool little alternate title cards I made. Which do you think is cooler? The first one, the first one that you saw, this one? Is this one the coolest? Or do you think the second one, this one? Or do you think the third one's the coolest? Which one of those do you think is cool? Let me show it one more time. First one, second one, third one. Comment down below which one you think is the coolest. And if you made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe. And, put in the comments hashtag Kagurabachi in the comments to show that you've made it this far. Put it down there, show your support, and yeah, I'll see you next year.